What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Flash, Season 3, Episode 21, Cause and Effect. So, this one seemed a little bit like a filler episode, just a mite, but there are some important things to talk about. Just, on the whole, it was, I don't know how to describe it. It kind of like that one episode from last season where Barry got, he lost his powers for maybe an episode or two. It felt like it was holy crap, but then there was just like one episode in between where by the end of that episode he ended up having his powers back. So it's almost like it was sort of like a roadblock. Like we're moving along, we're trying to stop Zoom, and then all of a sudden he loses his powers, and now we gotta take an episode to get his powers back. Same kind of feeling here where we're trying to figure out what to do. Oh, let's try making him forget what's going on right now. So, like, I guess damaging his long-term memory so he can't remember it whenever he zoomed. But then he ends up losing his memory, and so it takes this entire episode to get back his memory. It just feels like it was a roadblock on the way there. However, there is one thing that I have to wonder if they're going to use it effectively. So let's talk about it. So we do see that because Barry lost his memory in this one, it does end up affecting Savitar. So even though Savitar is from the future, their memories seem like they're connected now, which does kind of make sense because this Savitar comes from this Barry's future. So even though that Barry from the future, that Savitar is probably a lot different, this one is connected to this Barry's future. So it's almost like what's happening to him now is kind of causing this one, like the cause and effect, like they were saying. It causes, and that affects the Savitar that Barry's facing in this timeline. It's kind of confusing, but it also does kind of make sense. And this does lead to something that I have to wonder if they're going to use later on, and that is, if their memories are connected, shouldn't that mean that if they kind of cut Barry out of maybe a plan, it might actually work? Because it seems to be what's happening. You know, they come up with a plan, but Barry's there, and so because Barry was there and they told him about it, it went into his memory, and that in turn allowed Savitar to have a memory of what happened. So what if, behind Barry's back, everybody comes up with a plan to stop Savitar, so that way now Barry doesn't know about it. In turn, Savitar shouldn't know about it because it wouldn't be happening until like the present. So I'll be very curious to see if they end up trying that, or if I'm just thinking about it too hard. But it seems to be what it is, because when Barry forgot everything, so did Savitar. When Barry has been involved, Savitar knew exactly what was happening. Like even that one scene where he goes out into the middle of the road, Savitar knows to meet him there because this Barry now has figured out who Savitar is, whereas that Barry may not have figured out who Savitar is. Or future Barry may not have figured out who Savitar is. So I don't know. I think that may have something to do with it. Maybe not. Maybe they'll come up with something completely different. Like maybe whenever he goes to fight Savitar, maybe he won't create time remnants or something. Or I don't know. I think cause some of it is depending on time. So you know, right now, even though he still hasn't created this Savitar, it's almost like as long as things are continuing to go how they are, he will eventually end up creating time remnants to stop this Savitar, because this Savitar is going to kill Iris. So it's hard to really explain, but I think I kind of understand what's going on. I do like the line though whenever Barry's talking to himself at the beginning, and his time remnant says, you know, whenever you mess with whenever you mess with time travel, the rules don't apply anymore. And it's almost kind of saying, like, this is what happens because of all the time travel. Time really gets screwed up. And it's almost like, you know, they could just throw everything into the wind and say, screw it, we're not going to explain it. But it's almost like this is how they're explaining it. It's because Barry messed with time. He created Flashpoint. He changed time again and again and again. And this is why Savitar exists, because that messing with the time stream has affected it so much to where now this Barry can exist. So I don't know. I like that line. It felt right in the moment. It felt like it kind of fits the idea of the show right now. There is one kind of, it's almost like they tried to go too much into detail, because there's one moment where Cisco's talking after Barry tells them who Savitar is, and it's just like, it's almost like he goes way too into detail. Like, oh, this is why the Legends got that message from Future Barry saying not to trust Barry Allen, and now it makes sense. And I'm just like, we get it, okay? We understand that does explain the message. It may have been kind of a way for, if people didn't see that crossover event or something, maybe that was a way for them to say, oh, remember that message? But as soon as I found out it was Barry last episode, that message from For the Legends made sense. But anyway, so I really liked how they did do certain elements in this episode. You know, like some of the, I guess the new side of Barry, because he doesn't have that weight of his parents' death. He doesn't have all the sadness and despair that came with that. It was nice kind of seeing him very upbeat and cheerful. It is very different than how he's been recently. You know, he has tried to be cheerful. He has tried to be the Flash. But you can see that there's a sadness in most of what he does now. And that is something that I haven't really talked about, but I have noticed, is that this show, this season, has been a lot more depressing. It has been a lot more dark. It hasn't been the same upbeat show that we've come to expect. So seeing him this episode just be really upbeat, it was kind of reminiscent of the first season where he was just Barry Allen. I'm going to go save the world. I'm the Flash. This is awesome. I love my powers. This is so cool. Because, you know, even though his mom was still dead, his dad wasn't. So he still had his dad. He still had Iris. Now it's like he's lost both of his parents and he's about to lose Iris as well. You can kind of understand why he's been down in the dumps recently. So I don't know. I really like how they handled that, and I like how he was able to just kind of be like, yeah, I'm good. I don't remember anything, so I'm good. But on the flip side, I also love Joe's little speech to Iris about how, you know, all of those memories that he has makes him who he is. Even if they're good, even if they're bad, they make Barry who he is. And so, you know, it is kind of something to where it's like, but what about memories of the future? How does that factor in? But, you know, that message was very well done. I think they did it very well. However, like I said, this was a bit of a filler episode when you think about just the concept of he loses his memory, and then by the end of this episode, he gets it back, and nothing's really changed. You know, Killer Frost, she comes to help Barry get his memory back because Savitar doesn't have his memory anymore. So she wants to help Savitar, and so in vain, she has to help Barry get his memory back as well. So she helps him, and you can see Cisco trying to get through to her. You know, he's telling a story about when him, Ronnie, and Hartley were all working together. And I do have to wonder, though, because one of the things that we saw that changed from, I think it was last season that this happened, there was a moment where Hartley was involved, and Barry had gone back in time to change something, and when he came back, they're like, what changed? And Hartley was a good guy now. So I'm kind of curious to see what's he up to now. I don't know. Just when he brought him up, it kind of made me think, oh yeah, Hartley. And I remembered that he was a bad guy and he was a jerk whenever they were working together. And then but now he's a good guy, and I'm just like, so was he still a jerk whenever they were working together? And in the end, something changed him. He just became a good guy. Like what happened? But they bring up that memory, and of course Caitlin remembers it, and that side of her is still there, and you can see that side of her still there. At the end, whenever they try to stop her and they're talking to her, and of course Barry and Cisco are like, you know, we're your friends, and Julian's like, I love you, Caitlin. I'm just like, wow, that's really fast. You guys were hardly together. But anyway, he tries to, you know, appeal to that side of her, and she's like, I never loved you. I never loved any of you. And then gets in the elevator, and then her Killer Frost eyes flicker off, and Caitlin's there for a second, and then Killer Frost is back. So Caitlin still is in there, but by the end of this episode, she's still Killer Frost. She's still leaving the team. She's still working with Savitar. So nothing really changed there as far as Barry trying to save Iris. You know, aside from maybe figuring out that Barry's memories are linked to Savitar's, nothing really changed there. And then, you know, that's pretty much all it was. You know, Wally lost his powers this episode because Barry lost his memories, which means, you know, later Savitar, he wouldn't become Savitar later. He wouldn't get the Philosopher's Stone, which gave Barry's powers or Wally's powers in the first place. So cause and effect, Wally loses his powers. So by the end of it, when he gets his powers back, Wally gets his powers back. So there's that. The scientists that they are having try to build a Speed Force trap, prison, whatever. by the end of it, she does figure out how to build this prison or something like that, but they need a lot of power for it, and so it looks like it's what's going to involve next episode. This thing that I don't know what it is, and apparently has a lot of energy and is guarded by what's his name? Shark guy. What's a shark guy? What's it's not Killer Shark, is it? I'm sure somebody can tell me what the name of the shark is. But apparently he's guarding whatever this energy thing that they need to power the Speed Force bazooka is. So that's about all we really learned in this. Everything else was just kind of like it popped up for this episode, and by the end of it, nothing's changed. So I don't know. I enjoyed parts of it. I did enjoy this episode overall because I do like the show, and I like the characters. I like what they're doing with the characters. Some of the cheesy moments, they get a little cheesy. You know, Barry's talking to her. Oh, you were the happiest little boy when I first saw you. Well, I think that's because you just entered my life. I'm just like, cheesy dialogue. But it's not terrible. I've seen a lot worse. So all in all, it was a good episode. Just kind of filler at moments. The stuff with HR and the doctor, I'm not even going to touch on because, frankly, it just seems so pointless. Why do you have to put these two characters together? Why? I mean, I understand HR's kind of helping her because just like he's done with the team this entire season, he brings up ideas that kind of the smart people around him are like, hey, I can use that. And so he's doing that with her right now. You know, there's a moment where she thinks, oh, sparks, and then they're just like, oh, so that's how she figures it out. But giving them a romance just seems like it's too much. You don't need to put these two characters in a relationship. You don't have to give HR a relationship. He can be a single guy. She can be a single girl. You can have single people on a show. Just look at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, they put a couple characters in relationships, but for the most part, that hasn't been the focus. It's just every now and then. It's one of the best shows out there. I don't care if people think I'm wrong. I'm right. But anyway, that's about it for this episode. I'm looking forward to the next one, obviously. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the season's going to end because at this point, I don't know. You know, that's one of the things that it felt like up until last episode, everything felt like it was just playing out exactly like we knew it was going to play out. But now at this point, it's almost like that loss of memory can almost set up anything. And the fact that he knows that Savitar is himself kind of from the future, you could do a lot of stuff with that. You can think of a lot of clever things to try to trip yourself up or try to trick yourself and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen, how they're going to deal with it. Is the future going to change? I guess the final thing that I do have, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but I did consider this at some point, and this is something I don't think I really talked to anybody about, like not even people that I talked to the show about. There's an idea that I had because we saw earlier in the season where HR had that little mask thing that could change his face, change his appearance. What if somebody decided to pretend to be Iris? What if they used that technology and changed themselves into Iris and let themselves be killed in place of Iris because they knew that if Iris was killed, then Savitar was created, but if Iris isn't killed, then there's a chance Savitar isn't created. That would be interesting. And, I mean, this all does kind of hinge on the thought of if Iris isn't killed, what happens to Savitar then? You know, because that seems to be the main thing is, I know I'm saying this a lot, cause and effect. It was the name of the episode, okay? There's a reason why they called it that. Because Iris was killed, Barry hates Savitar. He creates time remnants to kill off Savitar. One of them doesn't get killed, but because he's just a time remnant, Barry and his friends kind of shun him. Barry especially, it makes a lot of sense why he shuns him because he's in a depressed state because of Iris. And so that in turn creates Savitar. So, like I said, cause and effect. Death of Iris causes the birth of Savitar. So you really do have to wonder if there's some way where they trick Savitar into not killing Iris or into killing somebody that's not Iris, something along those lines. If they manage to do that, that does mean Savitar isn't created anymore, right? Because at that point, Iris is still alive. Barry doesn't mourn her death anymore. Barry doesn't hate Savitar and create him later on. Kind of a confusing thought, but if somebody dresses up as Iris, puts that little face-changing thing on, somehow makes themselves look like Iris, there's a good chance that it's not going to be Iris, and then somebody not Iris gets killed, and then Barry doesn't create Savitar, and boom, we're done. Of course, that being said, if he does find out that it's not Iris that was killed, then he could always come back and try to kill her again. But it would change history a little bit. It would give them, I guess, a little bit more time to kind of figure out something to do. But I don't know. It's just something that I thought of going down the line, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, that's about it for this episode. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this episode? What do you think is going to happen? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Flash reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.